What's that?
Sam Clark, I think I see a setter here that has one name. Yeah, Kevin Ham, I think there's also a seat for you up here. We have a live feed going to YouTube, so if we could fill the first few rows, you know, there's people go online, but there's actually attendees here. Come on up to the front. There's plenty of seats over on this side too. Come on over. It's always the hardest seats to fill. Perfect, thank you. Fantastic. Linda, there's still more seats up here? Thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to be here to hear some amazing startups and entrepreneurs. San Diego is currently ranked the 4th best place in the nation for startups, according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Pretty good news. So why is that? What makes the San Diego region so special? Is it our amazing talent? Is it our culture? Is it the businesses that are supporting entrepreneurs and helping them grow? It's all of those things. And really, it's our community. It's all of us. We are the ones working together to make sure that entrepreneurs have what they need to succeed. My name is Jennifer Shenick, and I am an Economic Development Manager at the San Diego Regional Economic Development Corporation. And our mission is to increase economic prosperity for the region and global competitiveness. This is a mission shared by many of our partners in the San Diego region, including the 5 cities along the 78 corridor. These cities have come together in an amazing collaboration. They have decided they're going to share best practices and work together to keep businesses here in North County and to help them grow here. So I'd like to introduce individuals from each of these cities. We have our economic development staff leaders here. If you could just stand and wave, that would be great. So Tracy Bolin, City of Oceanside, Kevin Ham, City of Vista, Michelle Geller, City of Escondido, Joe Stewart, City of Carlton, and Tess Sangster, City of San Marcos. Thank you. So with these individuals, as part of Innovate 78, we decided we needed to take a closer look at what startup resources are available to entrepreneurs in our community. As part of that initiative, we formed an amazing committee of individuals that are supporting entrepreneurs and looking to help them grow. We have a few of those committee members here in the crowd today, and I'd like to recognize them for you. We have Jennifer Patel. She's a DSN at the community colleges. We also have Becky Moore from Silvergate Bank. We have someone representing Mike Quinn from San Diego Venture Group. Kate. There you are. Right behind me. Ashok Kamal, are you here from Tech Coast Angels? Ashok is not here yet, but he's coming later. Nick Caceres, he's the organizer of San Diego Startup Week, and he has graciously allowed us to have a day in North County during Startup Week. That will be June 29th. I'll send that information out to you later. But all of these individuals are excited about what is happening here, and they're supporting this event. Another member that is a big part of our community that wants to help businesses grow is our Chamber of Commerce. So I'd like to recognize Brett. Thank you for your support in supporting businesses here. So before we get started, I wanted to introduce Dan Hendricks and his wife, Mary Alice, who run this space. Dan, will you explain what OSML is before we turn it over to the speakers?
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight. So appreciate you coming here. Open Source Maker Labs is a makerspace, an innovation lab, an incubator, basically a place where you can make anything. So we thought it was important to keep a momentum up for the Startup 78 initiative, not just to talk about it, but be in a place where you actually see what the great work is happening, the innovation that's actually happening right here in our community. You're going to hear some amazing stories from these startups and established companies that are here in North County. But actually, we're in a space where all these ideas are coming to fruition. People are actually doing it. One of our favorite expressions is, we've never done this before. Perfect. You're qualified. So that's where the innovation comes in. And let us not forget that, you know, in this country where we have the freedom to do these things, to make the choices, to do whatever we want to do, that's what it's all about. So thank you so much for coming. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you. As part of Startup 78, we want to make sure that you're all aware of the resources available to you as startups to help you grow. One of those resources is an accelerator program that's coming up. Julie, come on up. If you could tell us a little bit about the program and what people need to do to apply, I'd really appreciate it.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. I'm Julie Huang, I'm the program coordinator at Lift Development Enterprises, and we're a small business growth accelerator program. We're looking to help small businesses, especially in North County for our spring season, to become $2 million enterprises, become a community leader, as well as dominate their niche markets. So we are looking to help small businesses in North County become sustainable businesses, as well as our Founders First Capital Partners, which is our management company. It's a revenue-based venture fund, so many of our past participants who have successfully completed our program may receive funding from us, or we connect you with referrals as well. Thank you so much.
If you're interested in that program and applying, you can go on to startup78.com and see that resource, as well as many other resources available to you in the community. If you have a resource you're aware of that's not listed, you can also submit it on the site as well. So now it's time to hear our amazing speakers. So I'm so excited for the speakers we have here today. They each have a very unique story in terms of how they started and where they are now. They're all part of they represent the full startup journey. We have Darren with a brand new startup, and then we also have someone from Viasat. Nick will be presenting, so we have the entire gamut of companies up here. So with that, I would like to turn it over first to you, Darren, to give your 5 to 7 minute lightning talk about what you're all about. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you guys all for coming out here tonight. My name is Darren Cherrier. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Voyager Space Technologies. We're working on developing software that makes it much faster and easier to design satellites. So I've actually always wanted to design spacecraft and rocket engines, and I have a very personal interaction and story with OSML. Over here, this is the Colossus rocket engine test stand, developed by SENS UC San Diego. Before I went off to go start my own startup, I helped get funding for that. And before that, we were the first students to design and launch a rocket powered by a 3D printed engine right here at OSML. So, you know, space has been my background. I love it. And another thing that I had worked on through SES was we worked with NASA to design an award-winning satellite that was going to orbit around the moon. In the process of developing the satellite, we sort of found out what were the things that went into a satellite. If you're sending up, say, a camera, you need a processor, you need solar panels, you need an engine to make sure that satellite gets where it's needing to go and make sure that it's powered out properly. But the challenge is it's really difficult to access all that information, find all these components, and work with a large team to bring it all together. Oftentimes you reach out to vendors, figure out what they have, and it doesn't quite meet the mission requirements, and you have to go back and redo all of your physics. So that's why we decided to build SatBuilder, which is an intelligent software platform that lets you put in your mission requirements, and then will suggest all the commercially available components that meet your mission requirements. The goal is to focus on the utility of the satellite and optimize design design process so that we can launch satellites much faster, easier than ever before. And the exciting part is that more satellites are being launched now than previously, and over the next 10 years, we're expecting a 10x increase in the number of satellites that are being launched. And last year, they spent over $1.5 billion designing brand new spacecraft. We'd like to really drastically shrink that. So what is SatBuilder? The way it works is that you, as an engineer, you'll sit down and input your mission requirements, kind of go through a TurboTax-like interface where you're being probed and asked for what's going into that satellite. And then you have a dashboard. It shows you exactly what your build is, and you can go in and kind of optimize the different components that are right for your build. So what does that mean for us now? We are currently working with multiple startups throughout the industry, and including closing and working with a few large contractors on working and testing our satellite design software. And the goal is to be selling it at $1,000 per month per user, and at 1,000 subscribers, we are expecting to be bringing in $12 million in annual revenue within the next 3 years. So, and we have a pretty aggressive timeline. Over the next 15 days, we will be launching the alpha version of our software, where we have a lineup list of users and subscribers that we will be rolling out the software to and testing it, and be bringing in our first customer by the end of the summer. So that's where we're at right now. We have 8 people on our team with experience from SpaceX, Moon Express, and JP Morgan, and we're really excited to be bringing this to the market. Again, our goal is not just to make it easier to design satellites, it's really to add value back to this ecosystem, and if we can really make it cheaper for setting up each satellite, then that'll bring us this much closer to going and colonizing the moon and Mars, and that's a future that I'm really excited for, and get to use more of my rocketry skills that I learned. So that's where we're at today. I really appreciate you all listening, and thank you for taking the time, and that's it.
Thank you so much, Jared. Great story. A quick note too, we're very thankful to Wavelength Brewing for being here and supplying the beer. Thank you so much, Hans, for doing that. And also, Gentle Dogs Barbecue has a truck outside. They'll still be there after the speakers are done. So if at any time you feel hungry, you're only allowed to leave if you're going to go get food from them. But we definitely want to support them as a business here in Vista. So up next, we have Sarp with Water Pigeon. And coming up and telling us your story. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. Hi everybody, my name is Sarp, and I'm the co-founder of Water Pigeon. We are a little further down the road, I guess, as a startup. We've been around for about 1.5 years now. I'll give you a little background. It goes well with the Startup Week San Diego. I was pitching my idea at that time, which was a primitive version of where we are now, at Startup Week at the Ideator Challenge. This was 2015, and it was a mock Shark Tank kind of an event. And my idea was to read water meters with optics. And a coincidence, my co-founder now, Clay, was in the crowd and listening to my pitch. I was second place that day, and he gave me his card. And the card said, "I'll do water meters in the past, call me." And I lost his card. 4 months later, I found his card. I'm like, I should go out to lunch with this guy. So we went to lunch, talked for 2 hours, and he told me all the things why my idea would not work. Because his background was technical, wireless communication, my background is water resources. So we said, why don't we take a shot at developing this idea? So we worked on it for about 6 months. And in 2016 summer, we said, this might go somewhere, let's start a company and let's start a business. And with that, we applied to EvoNexus. We got into EvoNexus Incubator, and then we applied to Connect San Diego. We got into an accelerator program, graduated from Springboard, and then we raised about $1.2 million to date. Use that for developing our prototype. So what we do, that's the story of the company. What we do is we develop water meter readers. Today, 85% of the country, the meters in the country, are read once a month or less frequently. And the reason for that reading is purely to generate that water bill. And that water consumption data is buried in the ground. The idea of making that data available, it's out there. There's technologies out there, traditional technologies out there, but you have to take out that analog meter, which is 70% of the country, and then replace it with a smart meter. Then attach a radio, attach build a network to collect the data back. It's a very long process. Utilities have to commit to a technology that's very expensive and foreign to them. Therefore, it only has 15% market penetration. So our alternative, our goal is to reduce those barriers. What we do is we go to our meter box, take out the existing lid, and replace it with our lid. And our lid has a camera in it. Camera, battery, processor, and a motor. That's all the technology in this box. We take a photo of the meter, convert the photo, the numbers in the photo, to digital by using optical character recognition, and send the data out with existing cellular networks. So you don't have to change the meter, you don't have to build a network. In 5 minutes, you can convert a manual red meter to an automatically red meter. Where we are in the process, we are in pilots with Escondido and Oceanside, and we're also in pilots in other 3 utilities. And we are on the brink of getting our first contract in place with some leading companies and a utility up in North California. From here on, we like to address all the needs of the utilities. We target utilities, not end users, because utilities do own that water meter box. So once they have it deployed throughout the city, consumers will have access to their data as well. But until then, they will tell you if you have a leak. They will tell you if you have a large water bill coming up. So our goal is to deploy utilities and some leading companies at larger scale. That's Water Pigeon in a nutshell. And if you have any questions about the startup process in San Diego, incubators, accelerators, try them all. We're getting on. So I'd love to answer questions. I'll answer questions now or at the end. Okay. Better. Oh, okay.
Everyone is staying in the time limit. You guys follow directions. Okay, up next we have Tony Williams.
My name is Tony Williams, and about now 7 years ago, somehow I got involved in electric cars. I'm not sure how that happened, but a few years later in 2013, my brother and I had an idea that we could make a few things for the electric vehicle community. We started the classic in a bedroom, then an hallway, and then a garage, and then into a storage unit, basically, that didn't have even a bathroom in it. Last year, about 11 months ago, we moved here to San Marcos, just over the hill behind us, with 1 part-time employee. Today we have 7, we'll have 9 by the end of next week. And our revenues have doubled every single year we've been in business, and this year might even triple. So we got a pretty exciting story, and a few weeks ago, Jennifer and I actually flew up to Sacramento, and I received an award from the state for a Cal Competes grant, which was $100,000 as a tax credit to us from the state. We took that little jumping stone, and we went right into a angel investing round to generate revenue for the company and capital. And that's going quite well also, so I'll be doing that again this weekend. And that's kind of the business end and how I went from, I'll say, 0 to almost hero. But the actual products are really, the things that sell and make us the money. And so now I'm going to spend at least 30 seconds selling you on electric vehicles. If you drove here in a gasoline-burning car, why? Why would you send that money to all the folks that, for the most part, don't like us? They make money off of us. They'll hold you hostage. I'm told you guys are paying more for gas than you were yesterday. I don't know. I haven't bought gas in 7 years. So I don't follow the price of gas. I don't care what they do about it. But boy, if there's something wrong with gas, we'll send the U.S. Navy there to stop them, or the Army, or the Marine Corps, or whatever. I'm a Marine Corps veteran also. So anyway, so my pitch was, you can save a lot of money with electric vehicles. You can hurt the people that don't like us very well around the world. You can maybe save the environment. That's for you to debate, but certainly the cars don't pollute. And I hope I'll convert at least one person. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, up next we have Amir with Skylift Global. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Amir Mahdi. I'm the CEO of Skylift Global. 17 years lived in San Marcos, so I'm a local. And I started Skylift, for those of you who don't know, there are some here that do, as a way to continue a family legacy of helping people improve their lives. And what you don't know is that my father was a U.S. operative in Iraq who was helping protect a U.S. military base when Iraqi forces came in, broke in, and they killed him. And he was protecting the assets there. And I spent pretty much the rest of my life after that helping people improve their lives and introducing technology to them that could help the people that actually protect us. And as such, started Skylift Global, where we develop heavy lift drones or small helicopters that help our first responders save time, money, and lives. And specifically, what we do is we move hose packs and food and supplies for firefighters. They spend about 90% of their time shuttling equipment as opposed to actually extinguishing the fire. And that shuttling the equipment in itself creates a lot of delays. So we're wasting a lot of time, and fires are turning into 30,000, 100,000, 200,000 acre fires, burning down homes, and putting people's lives at risk. In fact, over the last decade, fires over 1,000 acres, the number of fires over 1,000 acres have nearly doubled, and fire season has nearly doubled, so almost the whole year. And to draw a specific example, the Thomas Fire, which is really the biggest one, took about 40 days to put out, and $300 million, and they're still counting the economic loss, which has gone up to about $2 billion. So to us at Skylift, we're looking at this as if we can save them just a little bit of time. The cost, or the economic loss, let's say, far outweighs the cost of adding an additional, let's say, unit or a staff, a firefighter, essentially, to put this out. And if we could narrow down even, let's say, 1% of the perimeter of a fire, in the case of the Thomas Fire, it could have been $30 million that we saved in economic loss. And the cost of that would have just been maybe $1 million at most. To add the cost in order to save that much in economic loss. And so we're at Skylift, we actually develop our vehicles up in Montana, but we source a lot of our development down here as well. There's no shortage of engineers in the aerospace industry in San Diego. And obviously living out here, we do that. But not just engineers. We've been able to get help from students at Cal State San Marcos on the Senior Experience Program. Which have really helped us tap into the firefighting world, Cal Fire, fire departments locally, the Forest Service, and FEMA, to see who we can actually help and learn more about their problems. That's really the approach that we're taking. It's not just, hey, this is another drone, but there's actually a real world problem that we can help solve. I'm going to leave it at that, if that's cool. Yeah? All right. If you guys have any questions.
Next, we have Sergey with Rankin. Will you tell us your story?
It's so tough. I'm going to follow a rocket science guy and the world there, and it's just the luck of the draw, I guess. Maybe so my story seems underwhelming. Sorry, guys. I could have gone first, and then it would have been uphill. So a little bit about myself. Sergey Sendakovsky. Oh, by the way, I should warn you. I haven't learned to speak and breathe at the same time. So if I get red, just not enough oxygen getting into my brain. And if I start slurring the words, then you know why. So again, I'm the CTO, Chief Product Officer, Chief Technology Officer for a company called Raven. So a little bit about myself. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Started a number of companies, some successful, some not so successful. Recently, I learned that in order to be a serial entrepreneur, you just need 2 companies, and they don't even need to succeed. So I definitely qualified. So from now on, I basically say I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a typical engineering background. I went to UCSD, I immigrated into San Francisco, and it was too cold for me, believe it or not, from Russia. It's just was too cold, and I decided, nope, no, I'm not staying in San Francisco. So I went to UCSD, typical engineering background. CTO, you know, the engineering route goes from developer to senior developer to architect to a director, and then CTO of this and VP of that. Then I got an advanced degree in computer science, but at a certain point, I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and open my own company. And I thought, well, I don't have enough of a business acumen for me to be able to do that. So I thought, well, how do you do that? So you just go and get a business degree. So I got a PhD in business. So by the time I started my first startup, I already had a PhD in business. Now, I thought King Kong got nothing on me. Yeah, I know how to do this. So as it turns out, PhD doesn't prepare you to run a startup. The first day in your business school, they basically tell you, if you have $1 billion, here's what you do, right? So you can run Walmart and you can do whatever, but you cannot, they don't tell you what happens if you have just one person, right? What do you do? Who exactly do you delegate to? So I made with my first startup, I made every possible mistake in the book, and despite my best efforts, the startup was successful, but we raised too much money, bought other companies, merged with other companies. So I tell you, it's a long story, but every possible mistake in the book. So I thought it must be exceptionally stupid, right? And I wish somebody, in 2008 set me down and told me the list of things not to do. I think it would have greatly helped. So a little bit. So that's my story. Some of my following startups were more successful, were sold. I became part of other companies as part of the acquisition, and now Reagan. Now, what's interesting about Reagan, and for me, it was the first for building the company in North County. Even though I went to CSD, I always thought you have to build startups outside of San Diego and North County in particular. And I'll get to it a little later in terms of, and tie it into Reagan, and you will see why that mattered. So Reagan. Reagan, we're located in the makespace in Carlsbad among companies like GoPro and GoDaddy and a few other startups. So what does Reagan do? Reagan is a field management solution for construction industry. So if that sounds too esoteric, I'll try to explain in more detail the list of services that we offer. So for all intents and purposes, we help construction companies manage their daily activities and labor statistics on the daily basis on the job site. So primary motivation for our customers to be getting our solution is threefold. First of all, it's risk mitigation. It's risk mitigation. Companies can get sued up to 10 years after conclusion of the project. So if you build something and the pipe has burst, you might get sued. And the one with the best documentation usually wins. So one, it's risk mitigation. Two, construction companies usually spend up to 2 hours on a daily basis documenting what they do. And you can imagine it's a pretty arduous job. At the end of the day, sitting in your trailer, you're trying to document what you did on a daily basis. So that's two. So risk mitigation. Number two, you're trying to save time. And number three, last and not least, is basically labor statistics. Entering time into the system. Because if the time is entered, then the construction workers don't get paid. And if they don't get paid, I don't think that would be too heavy. So this is what the company does. You might be asking yourself, how difficult is all that? Well, as it turns out, it's pretty difficult to do it well. A number of companies have tried and failed. And another testament to why is it difficult, or rather that it is difficult, 85% of 780,000 construction companies in the United States, they actually do nothing. They prefer to use pen and paper than to use complicated software in order to manage their daily activities. So you see that it's fairly complicated. It's fairly complicated to do it with some of the existing softwares that are out there. And that's why Raygun has accumulated 3,000 customers in 85 countries of the world. I recently, just a couple of days ago, pulled statistics. Out of those 85 countries, there are a few that I didn't even know existed, but they do, and we're there. Now, besides having a global footprint, we have a large footprint in San Diego and North County. Among our customers, who's who of the construction industry: Hill Construction, Swinnerton Group, Level 10, and many others. I promised that I was going to tie back building a company here as opposed to elsewhere, and here it is. So a couple of years back, we're now 50 people strong. So we could easily be anywhere in the country we choose to be, right? We're a fast-growing startup and whatnot, so we can, with generating revenue and well-funded, we could easily be anywhere. So a couple of years back, when we were just a few people, some of our investors told us that you have to move, in order for us to, but some of our potential investors told us, in order for you to be able to get the funding, you need to move to Silicon Valley. And the primary reasoning that they gave us moving to Silicon Valley was what's called chances of positive collisions. Another term for chances of positive collisions is access. You guys are going to be able to have access to investors, to some of the advisors, and to some of the personnel that you otherwise won't be able to. But the other side of access is the price you have to pay for it. Your money certainly doesn't go a long way in Silicon Valley, right? $1 million in investment in Silicon Valley, it's not the same as it is in San Diego and North County. So we chose to stay here. We told them no, and we eventually got funding, primarily because of the strong business model, and we convinced investors that we have to stay here. And now, going after Series A funding, it's not even a question anymore. When we tell them about our stats, tell them about our labor stats, they're absolutely astonished, right? How are you guys able to spend so little money and build a company? And we tell them it's the location. That's it.
Wow.
Thank you so much. So next we're going to hear from individuals of some more established companies who started as startups a while ago. The first person we're going to hear from is David Grant from ASML.
Thank you. So I am at the other end of the spectrum. I will give you two names, ASML and Cymer. Banner is on the wall over there. ASML is our current name. We were so successful as a startup, a San Diego-based UCSD startup. We operated for about 30 years. We got bought by our biggest customer in 2013, so we've been part of the ASML family for 5 years now. ASML makes semiconductor lithography equipment, basically the printer that prints the circuit geometry in every smartphone that's ever been made, as well as PCs and storage media and anything electronic. So we make a component here in San Diego that has always, as I said, it has always been used by ASML, the sub-module. It's called the light source. And it's interesting that our brewery is called Wavelength because that's really the strength of what we do. We make short wavelength light sources for a printing process that prints micron geometries leading into nanometer geometries. Those are 10 to the minus 6 to 10 to the minus 9 meters. These are what has been used in semiconductor factories globally now for the past, since about 1996. So I'll go previous to 1996 and tell you the startup story. The startup story starts with two gentlemen at UCSD, Robert P. Aiken, his name is Bob Aikens locally, and lives in Escondido for the entire duration of being a public company on NASDAQ. And his partner, Richard Sandstrom, they built their very first prototypes using UCSD Machine Shop, a shop that's probably a lot like Dan's right now. They work there late at night, 24/7 to get something built. They got it operational in Rick's garage. They got some funding from investment. Bob went around to Wall Street, and you couldn't just go to Silicon Valley venture capitalists at that time, but he was able to get funding. He was able to keep the company alive for about 10 years until a couple big companies, first of all in Japan, you've heard their names, Nikon and Canon, came by and said, okay, we want these products for our lithography tools. What they were making were lasers of very short wavelength that had specific properties in the optics chain going through the printer, the lithography system. And those excimer lasers had a little bit of previous publicity. You might have heard of the Star Wars program under Ronald Reagan. He was trying to put lasers in space. Well, Bob and Rick were on that program. That was their first job. They decided they didn't like working for somebody, so they started their own company. But it was that same basic technology that went into lithography, and we've all been enjoying the fast pace of semiconductors getting smarter, better, faster, cheaper now for a long, long time. It's now just normal. It's expected. Everything gets cheaper and better and faster. And that has a lot to do with the wavelength of the light source. So Bob and Rick today are both retired, enjoying the fruits of a fantastic journey. But it all started as a startup here in San Diego at a UCSD. Thank you.
So we have one more speaker before we give away some goodies and let you back out to the food truck and the beer. Nick, will you please join me on stage to tell your story?
Do you want to drop the screen for my 87 slides? So I'm here representing Viasat. I'm not going to tell my story because my story is insignificant. I think, unlike some of the previous speakers, I've never fallen into the trap of making too much money too quickly. So thanks for that. So Viasat, for those of you that don't know, we are a local Carlsbad-based startup now in our 32nd year. We're up to about 5,000 employees globally. And our mission is basically to connect the world. And I know that a lot of tech companies sort of say that. Most tech companies that say that want to connect the world to their advertising service. But that's not us. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about satellite is that there's a large number of people around the world that do not live in economically advantaged, dense populations where it makes sense to build a capitally intensive network infrastructure that requires digging up the ground, laying fiber optic cable, etc. So the nice thing about satellite is that you put all your really expensive advanced capital equipment in space, and then you can spread capacity to where people are in the world. So there's already sort of internet connectivity all around the world. The problem is that you have to be like a multi-billionaire with a private jet or a small, nation dictator to get it. And so it's really cool. Like I started at Viasat almost 15 years ago now, and I worked at a couple of startups previously. And I remember when I started at Viasat, we had 3 buildings and a few hundred people, and I felt like, oh my god, this place is massive. And now we're like half of Carlsbad, I think. We have our own crosswalk, which is, I don't know, that's when you know you really made it as a company. But we just, as a company, we just launched last year our second-class advanced satellite. We had a Guinness World Record for the most advanced communication satellite in the world for something we launched in 2011, and we're going to lose that record to ourselves. And this new satellite actually covers all of North America, all of Central America, the north part of South America, the Caribbean Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean, where basically all the air traffic is. So Viasat already is the connectivity provider for the world's best in-flight satellite internet. If you've ever flown on an aircraft with connectivity, like Wi-Fi connectivity in the plane, and it was slow and very expensive, it was not us. We offer the kind of service that allows basically every single passenger in the plane to have a similar online experience that they get in the home. And that's never been done before, and we're able to provide that basically globally within the next few years, and it's really incredible to watch. The reason that I was excited to be here, aside from the Viasat story, is because I think Viasat internally believes and acts and talks as if we're sort of the Peter Pan of startups. Like, no matter how big we are, the attitude is always that we should be the startup that never grows up. And our internal motto is like, do the right thing. We don't like a lot of rules. We have to conform to policy and standards and compliance and all that stuff. It's very, very important. But we don't do it in such a way that limits creativity. And in fact, we believe that entrepreneurialism is the lifeblood of the company, and that the best ideas are not just reserved to people at a certain level of the company and up. That's just not the way it works. And so being active in the local startup community, being a strategic funding partner for EvoNexus, being very involved in Cal State San Marcos, at UCSD, at universities, frankly, all across the country, now that we have engineering offices everywhere. These are the kinds of activities that put our engineers, our leaders, out in the communities with other people who are innovating. And it helps get everybody at every level of the company thinking, like, I know that we're doing it this way, but is there a better way? Right? And to have that at every level of a 5,000-person company is really, really cool. Myself, even though I started with Startup Tech, the startup that I was working at didn't work out, so I was out of a job and I needed a job, and then I ended up at Viasat. And because it was a big company, I was thinking, I'll be here for 2 years, then I'll go find my next thing. What I really needed was like credibility on my resume. I needed 3 bullet points to prove that the reason I didn't have a real job out of college wasn't because I couldn't get one, it's just that I preferred this startup environment, where my title at the startup was basically the chief office furniture selector, web developer, coffee maker. It's very, very important roles, all 3 of them, when you think about it. And at Viasat, I've been there almost 15 years, and we've gone from several hundred people to 5,000 globally. I feel like I've had a new job, a new career every 2 to 3 years, and that kind of environment has allowed me to reinvent myself. And I evangelize that for me, it's a huge company. I guess technically we're mid-size. But one of the key things that I see, I help grow also our university relations recruiting program, our internship program. And one of the key things that I hear, especially from software engineers and other technical people, is that they want to go to Silicon Valley, not because they love the companies there, but because there's the perception of multiple options. That if they don't like their first company, it doesn't matter. You can't throw a rock without hitting another open software position, right? And it's not just a philanthropic thing, it's part of our strategic lifeblood to grow and develop the diverse tech ecosystem in San Diego, in North County, and the other cities where we do business. Because we want the world just needs more and better engineers, right? I would like the best of them to work with us. But we're going to find our next hires from the startup ecosystem that we're helping to invest in. And so I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to come up and speak. I'm honored that I'm even on the stage. If it was up to me, I'd be back there drinking beer in the back. But thank you very much for listening, and I really appreciate it.
Don't go anywhere. Come up here on our little mini stage. All of you speakers, come on up here. And Dan and Mary Alice too, come on up. Stand up here, on the little mini stage. You can all fit. Dan built it, so you know it's good. Jump on up. Come on up. Oh, and Mary Alice made a skirt. So it's even fashionable, you can all fit. So let's give all of our amazing speakers one more round of applause. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. And more than that, thank you for your expertise and your ambitions and the way you are just tackling world problems with your technology. I admire you, and I thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you. Keep us in good. So you guys can go get beer now. Yeah, you're good. Should we grab a picture of all of them? Before you go, wait, don't get up yet. We have some goodies to give away before you get more beer. One more thing. All of our speakers are dismissed from stage except for Dan. Thank you so much. So now we're going to give away some goodies. So Dan's up first, and after Dan, we'll be giving away some Startup Week tickets. So take it away, Dan.
Thanks. First up, you see a lot of people are just itching to get to work here. So first up, we're giving away a 1-month membership to come in and make whatever you can here. Just looking around at some of the things. tough challenge, tough high bar set here. So 1 month membership at Open Source Maker Labs.
And who has a smartphone where we can ask Siri who the winner should be? So I have a list of all the registrants for this event, and do you mind, Kathy, just asking Siri, say, hey Siri, pick a random number between 0 and 104. Pick a random number between 0 and 104. That'd be 41. 41 is Tyler Tracy, Tracy and Co Consulting. Yay! So you are now welcome to come into the space for 1 month. And if you would rather transfer it to another startup, you're welcome to do so too. Any follow-up details?
Or just stop in anytime, send me an email, and just jump in.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dan. Okay, so now I'm going to invite Nick up to the stage. We're going to hold on to her phone, Kathy. We're going to ask her for a few more random numbers between 0 and 104. Yeah, so Nick is the organizer of San Diego Startup Week, so I'm going to have him introduce what that is and what it means to win a ticket.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Casares. Before I kick off and give you a quick background on San Diego Startup Week, I just want to say thanks again, Dan, for hosting. This is an awesome space. Thank you to all the presenters for giving us some awesome pitches. And Jennifer, thank you for organizing and for inviting me here to talk about Startup Week. Anybody here been to San Diego Startup Week before? Show of hands. Awesome, cool. So for those who haven't, San Diego Startup Week is a week-long event. It happens from June 25th through June 29th. It's really 3 things. It's about our ecosystem here in San Diego, and it's 3 things. It's learning. So we have a full week of curriculum for anybody along their spectrum of entrepreneurship. So people that just have an idea and they're thinking about getting into a startup, or maybe they're further along and they have a team, or maybe they're thinking about raising money or their 2nd or 3rd round. We have content from speakers with deep experience across a wide range of topics. So we have a whole week of education. The second is connection. So we're really big on networking events that really put you in touch with people that you want to know, that can help your business, that can help you hire teams, that can get you the resources that you're looking for. And then finally, it's about celebration. So every night we have a social event planned. We have opening parties, we have pitch nights, we have a startup crawl. So it's a really, really awesome time to get in touch with the community and really understand at a deeper level what's happening in your ecosystem and meet people and resources that can help power your ideas. So with that said, we're going to give away some tickets to Startup Week this year.
Fantastic. Okay, Kathy, will you ask Siri for a random number between 0 and 104? We're going to pick four people, right?
4 people, yeah.
4 people with a random number between 0 and 104.
82.
82. We have Dragon. Yeah.
All right.
JC Measley. 2 more winners. I need to see you afterwards for details.
Yep, just see me before you leave.
Okay, great. Okay. 2 more. 77. Okay. 77 is David Memont. Must be present.
David Memont. Let's do one more.
Okay. 89. Taylor Bonham.
Taylor Bonham. Take more. Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep going. 74. Jerry Lawson.
Jerry Lawson.
As long as you're here. 8. Ross Watanabe.
Ross Watanabe.
Okay, let's stand. Somebody here. Rebecca Morris, and Renee
Yeah, so just see me after. I'll be hanging out and we'll get you connected.
Great. Thank you so much, Nick. And Nick is allowing us to have a day during Startup Week in North County, so we'll send that information out soon. Save the date on your calendars. It'll be the morning of June 29th. It's a Friday, and then we're all going to get on the train and go downtown for the other Startup Week activities. It should be a really good time. It's going to be at Common Grounds, and there will be brunch.